Most people spend their lives comparing themselves to others. They look at someone faster, richer, or more talented, and feel like they're falling behind. But there's a quieter truth almost no one talks about. The only person you're actually racing is who you were yesterday. My name is Samir, and this story is about a lesson that changed the way one young man measured success. In a mountain village, there lived a stonemason's apprentice named Kavi. Kavi was skilled, but he had one habit that slowly wore him down. Every day, he compared his work to the other apprentices in the yard. "Doran finished his wall faster than me," he'd mutter. "Elon's carving is smoother than mine." No matter how much he improved, someone else always seemed a step ahead, and Kavi carried that weight home with him every evening. One afternoon, an old stonemason named Benham noticed Kavi sitting alone, staring at his chisel with frustration. Benham had built half the walls in the village, though he rarely spoke of it. "You look troubled," Benham said, sitting down beside him. "I'll never be as good as the others," Kavi said. "No matter how hard I work, someone is always ahead of me." Benham nodded slowly. Then he asked a simple question. "Ahead of you toward what?" Kavi paused. "I don't understand." "You're comparing your race to someone else's race," Benham said. "But you were never running the same one." Kavi frowned. "What do you mean?" Benham picked up 2 stones from the ground. One rough and unshaped, one smooth and polished. "This rough stone," he said, holding it up, "was smooth once too, before someone carved it down. Every stone starts differently. Every path is different length. Comparing your beginning to someone else's middle will only make you feel like you're losing a race that was never fair to begin with." Kavi looked at the 2 stones, still unsure. "Then how do I know if I'm improving?" Benham smiled. "Look behind you, not beside you." That evening, Kavi thought about those words. He pulled out an old carving he had made months earlier, one he'd been ashamed to keep. He compared it to his most recent work. The difference was clear. His lines were cleaner now. His hands moved with more confidence. He wasn't behind everyone. He was simply ahead of who he used to be. The next morning, Kavi made a decision. He stopped watching what the other apprentices were doing and started watching what he was doing differently than the day before. He kept a small notebook, writing down one thing he improved each evening, however small. At first, the change felt strange. He still noticed Doran's speed and Elon's precision, but instead of letting it discourage him, he simply returned to his own notebook and asked, "Am I better today than I was yesterday?" Weeks passed. Kavi's carvings became sharper. His technique became steadier. He wasn't trying to catch anyone. He was simply trying to outdo the version of himself from the week before. One afternoon, Doran walked by and noticed Kavi's latest carving. "That's incredible," Doran said. "When did you get this good?" Kavi smiled. "I stopped comparing myself to you. I started comparing myself to who I was yesterday." Doran looked puzzled. "Doesn't that feel slower, watching everyone else pass you?" Kavi shook his head. "No one passes you when you're not running their race. I'm not behind you. I was never running toward the same finish line." Months turned into a year. Kavi's work became known throughout the village, not because he was the fastest apprentice, but because his growth never stopped. While others plateaued after reaching a certain skill level, satisfied with being good enough, Kavi kept measuring himself against his own past, always finding one more thing to improve. One evening, a younger apprentice approached him, frustrated the same way Kavi once was. "I'll never be as good as you," the boy said. Kavi knelt beside him. "You're not supposed to be as good as me. You're only supposed to be better than you were yesterday." The boy looked confused. "That's it? That's the secret?" Kavi smiled, remembering Behnam's words from years before. "That's the only competition that's ever fair." My perspective on this story is simple. Comparison steals more progress than it ever creates, because you're measuring your current chapter against someone else's highlight reel. The only fair comparison is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. Small improvements, repeated daily, quietly outperform talent that never grows. Stop watching the runner beside you. Start watching the one you used to be. If this story taught you something valuable, make sure to subscribe for more motivational stories and life lessons. Thank you for watching, and remember, yesterday's you is the only competition that matters. See you in the next story.